But if they wanted to tell this storyline, why are they making it so ambiguous? My guess is because they write Brook Lynn these days to be Saint Brook Lynn. Good morning, everybody. Back with a review for yesterday's episode of General Hospital. Which, Monday and Tuesday's episodes to me were an improvement on last week, where I felt like a lot of the storylines, a lot of the episodes were kind of boring. Unfortunately, yesterday's episode, the Wednesday episode this week, was bad. I did not enjoy yesterday's episode very much. It was a filler episode on one hand, and I don't know what we are doing with this car crash storyline. It is almost like they want to tell a half-assed story to me. That is what I am getting from it. Tracy came in to see Brook Lynn ranting about how Danny needs to get his own car to ruin because Tracy is thinking that he scratched up Brook Lynn's car. Brook Lynn was putting baby Phoebe down at that point, wanting Tracy to be more quiet. But then when she started talking to Tracy about the car, she admitted that it was not Danny that scraped up her car. It was herself that scraped up her car. And she talked about how someone could have been injured in the accident, even though she didn't know. And then she finally admitted to Tracy that she thinks she was involved with the crash that Jordan and Curtis were involved in. She also admitted to Tracy that she had been drinking and she didn't want to go and help because she may have had to do a breathalyzer and she could have got a DUI, and then she maybe wouldn't have gotten baby Phoebe at all. She also swears that she didn't know there was an accident, but that's the part of the story that I really have to suspend my disbelief, because you can hear a car accident. So Brook Lynn didn't hear. I mean, maybe she was blasting music, but that hasn't been talked about. Maybe she was drunker than we think on the possible 2 drinks of wine that she had. I don't know. But of course, in Tracy Quartermain fashion, she wants Brook Lynn to cover it all up. And yeah, that's basically what they're going to do. They're going to have a cover up and cover up this whole thing for Brook Lynn, even though the cover up sounds more stupid than the actual accident. Tracy's whole ploy is that she doesn't think a jury would be kind to Brook Lynn because she's a wealthy girl. Maybe she's right. What really irked me about the story was at first Justine and Dante were talking about the investigation into Curtis and Jordan's car accident, and Dante doesn't think there was another car responsible for the crash, and Justine said that the other car may have seen it and kept going. And this was the point when I asked myself, what even is this story? Why are we half-assing this storyline? We saw on one hand that Curtis and Jordan were getting frisky in the car when they shouldn't have been, something that Curtis is still not saying he was in the wrong for doing, because I blame Curtis more than I blame Jordan for the friskiness. He was rubbing her leg and went in for the kiss when she was driving, but I don't think we'll ever see Curtis admit to that shit. But if they wanted to tell this storyline, why are they making it so ambiguous? My guess is because they write Brook Lynn these days to be Saint Brook Lynn. And I don't get it. Maybe she is more popular online than I think she should be, and I think she is, and I don't understand it. Maybe a few years ago I could understand the popularity for Brook Lynn, but Brook Lynn in her current form is a boring saint character, and I think that's why they wanted to write it so ambiguous, because they're not going to make Brook Lynn pay for drinking and driving, so they didn't want to make her more drunk. They left the whole thing open-ended and ambiguous, and I think it is an extremely weak storyline. Then on top of that, Jordan is awake now. She got a visit from the dermatologist to look at the injuries on her neck and face. She has some cuts and burns on her face that are bad, that could leave noticeable scarring. Justine ended up coming to check in on Jordan because, they've been becoming pretty good friends lately. But Jordan did not want guests at this time. I guess she's reeling from the fact that her face is messed up. Afterwards, Curtis talked to Justine about the car that kept driving, which caused Justine to go back to Dante, saying she wants to file charges for the person driving leaving the scene of an accident. She wants the driver found, with that weak-ass little story that they're writing. But I don't know if this story for Jordan is strong either. They want her to be messed up about this big scar and burn on her face. But it's not like they've ever written Jordan to be this vain character. Like, the actress that plays Jordan is a very beautiful woman, but it's not the character. It's not like Jordan used to be this model on the show, and the character was vain and all about her looks. She used to be a police officer. So I think it's kind of not landing where they're going with this storyline, because the character of Jordan has never been one to be vain, in my opinion. So yeah, it's just not landing for me there. And the rest of the show really revolved around Sidwell, who, as a villain, is working less and less and less the more that I watch. Sidwell is upset that he can't get Laura to pass his flight path for his helicopter so he could use his helicopter to just go anywhere, and he doesn't feel like Ezra is any use if he can't get Laura on board. Sidwell is upset because the investigation into his son's murder is going nowhere. He isn't getting anything from buying all of these politicians, nor is he getting anything from blackmailing Laura right now. And so I sat there watching the episode earlier, questioning what is even Sidwell as a villain, because on one hand, they want to write him involved in every damn storyline like he's a puppet master, and yet all of his puppet mastering seems to be going nowhere. So I ask, what is even the point if you're gonna make him a cartoon villain involved in too many storylines? At least give some points to it, because right now he is looking like a failure of a villain. I did kind of like Ezra calling him out about how Sidwell just complains and says that Sidwell is the common denominator in all of these things not working, and maybe it's because of him. That is a deep cut, because Sidwell is kind of responsible for Margot's death. But Sidwell pulled out a gun on Ezra while Ezra was ranting about how it's going to look bad for him if he's pushing for this flight path. And Sidwell threatened to fire him in Sidwell's way, which would be a very bad severance package where Ezra gets nothing, aka ends up dead. Ava, meanwhile, was visiting Laura to talk about Sidwell pushing for the flight path in the city, and Ava was basically trying to get Laura to just go ahead and do it for Sidwell, saying that maybe Laura should let Sidwell have this flight path. Ava was asking Laura how one little chopper is worth all of this noise, and Laura pushed back for several different reasons. Laura was trying to get Ava to see that she has the wrong idea about Jen Sidwell and not Laura, but I don't think it was really getting through to Ava. I don't know what Ava has to gain with this pursuing Sidwell. I don't know if she's trying to get the mansion back or not. But Ava tried to tell Laura that there is this other side to Sidwell that nobody sees. He's just so sad about Marco right now and Marco's death. And after that, Ava went to Sidwell to tell him that she was trying to help him with Laura. And Sidwell says that he sees who is standing by him in his darker moments. I love Ava. So Ava alone could make me like the Sidwell villain more. But it feels like we are treading water with Sidwell's villainy, where they want him involved with every storyline, and yet he's making no progress on anything. And I think that's stupid. The last thing was Joss at the gym bugging Nathan. They didn't even know each other back in the day, and obviously this isn't the real Nathan, but I guess that kind of works for Not So Nathan because he and Joss barely knew each other, and they decided to do a workout rotation together and spot each other. But during that, Joss was questioning him if his parents pushed him to become a doctor, and it came into this big old conversation about his parents where they're talking about Faison and Faison's obsession with Anna, and basically Nathan, the rest of Not So Nathan's family, which ended up getting Not So Nathan upset about why Joss is so curious about Faison, because bringing up that name just brings up stress. I guess these scenes were kind of to hammer home the point that this isn't the real Nathan, but that he is still Faison's son. And I don't know if Faison will be returning. I think the actor is still alive. Correct me if I'm wrong, although he's got to be old at this point. But they talk so much about Faison lately. Can we really end this storyline without a Faison return? The whole point of Anna's story isn't that she thinks Faison is alive. And I know right now Anna's supposed to be crazy, and we never ever see her. But I feel like we are going to have to see Faison at some point to end the story, which I am down for, I guess. But overall, yesterday's Wednesday episode of the show, not my cup of tea. I do think some of these storylines are in a struggle. They are really half-assing this car crash storyline.